I'm sorry, man. I blacked out for a second. This is Coach Bruce Pearl. I love the Field of 68 Dark. I listen to it all the time.
This is Duke head coach John Shire. Check out Field of 68 After Dark.
This is Xavier head coach Sean Miller. I highly encourage you to take a look at After Dark, led by the one and only John Phantom.
Now listen to you guys every morning when I'm getting ready. From the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors. This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Welcome into the Field of 68 After Dark. We're live on Sirius XM channel 84, College Sports Radio. We're live as always on YouTube. If you haven't done it yet, subscribe to the Field of 68 on YouTube. Smash that like button like Bruce Pearl. We got a packed show today, and I've been pushing Jeff and Rob. I said we got to get some down south representation on this damn show. And so that is exactly what we have done tonight. This is going to be the down south edition of After Dark, and it's championship week. We got Field of 68 All-American teams. 4 tickets were punched tonight. ACC tournament, for some reason, started today. We're going to get into everything here momentarily. I'm John Martin. They let me back for some reason, and I am appropriately joined by 2 champions. North Carolina legend Tyler Hansbrough, 2009 NCAA Tournament champ, and Clemson sharpshooter and champion of cryptocurrency, Terrence Oglesby. Fellas, how we doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. It's that time of the year, March. I'm excited to see some upsets.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt any less whenever you point out all my deficiencies, especially when it comes as a Bitcoin billionaire. That's not true. However,
that'd be a good thing to be, by the way.
Yeah, that's not true. However, best part of the year for me, I love the conference tournaments. I'm not sure my feelings are mutual with my fellow panelists. However, I think it's a lot of fun, especially when you look at some of these smaller conferences. And then, you have some of these, like I have the America East game on Saturday, and I'm just really excited to get up to Burlington for a championship game that's going to be on a home venue. Like, I think this is what makes, outside of the Power Six, I think this part of the year is so exciting for and so much to play for some of these smaller schools. That's why I enjoy it so much.
Just real quick, and I said this before we came on here, I think the conference tournaments suck. And the reason I think that, and I get it, I think they're great for the mid-majors and these teams that don't get a lot of attention and they get the automatic bid. But for teams in these power conferences or these teams who have done well all year, they're beat up. They're trying to get prepared for the NCAA tournament. And now they're just about to play 4 games in 4 days, right before the biggest time of the year. I think for true contenders, I think it kind of beats them up, maybe get some of your best guys injured. And I don't know. I just don't think it's a great idea all the time. But, hey, I get it. I think it's great for the fans, and it's a moneymaker, so I'm here for it too.
Hey, is it that what old Roy said it was just a cocktail party for all the boosters, right?
Yeah. And the year we won it, I think we lost to Florida State kind of early. Ty had been hurt a little bit. Won the whole thing, not the ACC tournament. The year we won the ACC tournament, we went to the Final Four and got blasted by Kansas. I do feel like we're a little beat up a little bit, but losing games sometimes also makes you refocus. So I think that's why losing early in your conference tournament to a team that has had a great year and is a real contender to win the whole thing, I think it makes you focus on what you don't do well and hone in on your weaknesses and kind of sharpen those up before you go into the tournament as well.
Yeah, we'll get into that second win there when you guys went on to win the whole thing. The ACC championship came via our friend here, Terrence Oglesby. So we will get into that a little bit later and see how much each of you remembers from that day. So we'll do that here in just a little bit. Yeah, we're gonna preview some conference tournaments. Obviously, ACC is underway. Big 10 in Chicago, Big East, Big 12, SEC. Get into all of that a little bit later. But before that, I mentioned it. The Field of 68 All-America teams are out, and just curious here to see if there's any discrepancy, any error that was made by the team here. Zach Edey of Purdue made the first team. Tyler Kolick from Marquette, Trace Jackson Davis, Indiana, Brandon Miller, Alabama, and Jalen Wilson from Kansas. Just Terrence, I'll start with you. Is this right? Did they get it right? Is someone deserving that didn't make the list? I know it's hard to pick 5. How did the field of 68 do here?
Guys, I'll be honest. I was a fan of all the picks. The only one I could throw in there is maybe you go with Azuolas Tubelis over somebody. And when I say somebody, it's a tough one to pick. I feel like you have to have a guard there. And in my mind, I feel like Tyler Kolick, I voted him first team. To me, it was a no-brainer. He's a Big East Player of the Year. He is the #1 point guard and #1 guard on a team that's one of the best offensive teams in all of college basketball. He's the catalyst. Cam Jones, Memphis boy. Shout out my man Martin.
Yeah.
Like this guy's a bucket, but he doesn't get his buckets without Tyler Kolick. And he's one of the assist leaders in the country for the best offense in the country. And what Shaka Smart has put together there all revolves around what Tyler's able to do with the basketball. So to have somebody that good at the point guard spot that you can trust to make all those decisions. And guys, this was a Marquette team that was picked 9th in the preseason out of 11 teams. Tyler Kolick led him by himself. Not by himself. He had other players, but you get what I'm saying here. This is a very good player, and he's just an excellent decision maker. He improved his shooting. He did everything you needed him to do in order to earn all of this.
Yeah. For me, I like the list, and this is nothing against Kolick, but I remove him. I put Drew Timme on there, and then I look at Brandon Miller. I remove Brandon Miller, and I put Marcus Noel on there. And the reason I do that is, one, I think Kansas State's a better team than Marquette. And also, I think Marcus Noel is playing at a high clip, and he's made Kansas State relevant. And I think they can possibly go on a run. I think they're an issue. Him and Keontae Johnson, I think they can really get it going. And I like Drew Timme. I think he's been consistently one of the best big men in college. And I like what he does for Gonzaga, and I love watching him play.
Interesting. Yeah. I was a little shocked because as much as we talked about Drew Timme, coming back one last ride, as dominant as he is. And last I checked, they were just steamrolling. If that game hasn't gone final, they were steamrolling St. Mary's in the WCC final tonight. I was a little surprised, just generally from a college basketball national perspective, that he has not gotten as much love as he did a year ago, but that's the way it goes.
It's the way it goes when you're not as impressive in the non-conference, and that's when Gonzaga needs to be great.
Right.
Like,
Well, and there probably is some fatigue, right? People just get a little, okay, when are you going to do it when it matters type,
Right.
and then NCAA tournament, what have you. Mentioned it at the beginning of the show here. Tyler, let us know how he feels about conference tournaments. I guess, is it one of those things where if you have solidified your seeding, right? If you can't change fundamentally like for a team like Houston this year, the only way they can change their seeding fundamentally is if they, suffer a bad loss. Is it one of those things where you feel like you're just going through the motions? Like take us through, both you guys, what the approach is come, conference championship week.
You know what? For us, like, we were just trying to hang on. Like, and here's where it differs between me and at Clemson and Tyler at North Carolina. Whenever we made the championship game my freshman year against North Carolina, like, that was a huge deal. Like we had people showing up for the conference championship game I hadn't seen all year. I hadn't seen them all year, and all of a sudden these people start showing up, and it was a big deal for us because we've never won one. I think the last conference championship, I shit you not, 1939, Clemson Tigers won 4 games in 4 days in the Southern Conference Championship. Get at me, T. Didn't hold that one down, did you? So, like, that's really the only one that we've had. And I'm not sure I know a whole lot of people that were at that game, truth be told. It was a while ago. But for us, it was a big deal. That was the first time in my career where we had to go around the back entrance to take the utility elevators to get up to our room. It was packed. Wow. I mean, we couldn't get through the doors. I mean, an incredible environment for somebody like us who's not North Carolina, for example. Like, there's a lot to play for. We weren't necessarily hoping to win a national championship. We were hoping to maintain our relevance and then keep extending forward to where Tyler's like, to hell with this. Like, we got a national championship to win. We didn't have that same dynamic. We were trying to make a name. We were still building. We were on the way up. We were, the trajectory was right. But for us, like, it was a big deal to be in that position. They just killed us on the offensive glass.
Listen, we still tried to win them, and I'm not the biggest fan of them. I think it gives teams like Louisville, who have just been atrocious all year, it gives them one chance and gives them something to fight for. And, the miracle of like, hey, a team like Louisville getting on a run and just winning the whole thing. But can it happen? Yeah. Is it likely? No. But the other thing is, these smaller conferences that don't get a lot of publicity aren't on TV all the time. It gives them recognition, and I think that's good. But for teams who have had a great year and really put themselves in position and are rolling, I think it does harm to them. I think you're playing more games in the fewest amount of days all season, right before the NCAA tournament. That's not ideal. You run the risk of hurting players and getting injured. So I'm not the biggest fan of it. And you also said Houston. I'm not sold on Houston. I know they're solidified. They play in the American. Any loss to them in this tournament outside of Memphis would be catastrophic to me, because there's not many quad ones. There might be quad threes and quad fours in there. It hurts a team like Houston, to be 100% honest with you. So, it's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, they may like implement the quad 5 for the American, right? Like this is week number 2 in a row, man, where I've heard you with Houston. Like, you are almost all the way out on them. You're not buying them.
Well, they're the only top 5 team with the quad 3 loss. I could probably even pull up the net rankings. I really don't feel like doing it, and probably even go farther.
Don't do it. That doesn't matter.
No, I got it for the Clemson section for sure. But I'd probably scroll down a little bit farther. But I don't know. I just, I think playing in these tough conferences, I think you're going to have more losses, and I think they're not tested nightly. I think the Big 10, the Big 12, even the ACC this year, I think in those conferences you're tested, and I don't think they would walk away, with the record that they have right now.
Well, the beauty of it is they're going to find out next year when they join the Big 12. We've got 2 minutes before we go to break here. I want to ask you guys, if you can keep it to a minute or less. Do you remember the game against each other? Like, do you remember seeing him in the game? I know Terrence remembers Tyler Hansbrough in that game. But do either of you have a memory from that matchup in the ACC championship?
I remember how close the game was up until the last little bit, and offensive rebounds just killed us. And we had Booker and we had James Mays and some good physical bodies. Like, there was a lot of excitement for us, but I just remember Tyler just crushed us on the glass. And, he was a big Kevin Love rebounder whenever he was in college. Like, he'd throw it at the bottom of the rim, go get it. He'd get it a couple more times. He'd padding stats. That's all that was. Tyler Hansbrough like padded stats. I'm saying it to his face. Padding stats. No, I'm just kidding. But
big allegations.
Dominated the boards. They were incredible. I just remember the general energy and feel, because anytime the ACC tournament's in North Carolina, it's a Duke, North Carolina invitational, basically. And then we had our, 1/8 of an arena cheering for us. And it was basically an away game. That's what I remember. So outside of that, and then at the hotel, like, we couldn't get in. So there you go.
I remember anytime you play Clemson in the Oliver Purnell days, it's going to be up and down. They press you the whole time. James Mays was a very active big. Trevor Booker, I looked at the box score. I think he had 6 blocks, super athletic. But it was a battle. And the only thing that I can think of really is I knew that teams that press, even when we played Louisville in the NCAA tournament that one year, I always felt like in the second half, they were going to really wear down, because teams that press and pressure the ball like that, teams usually don't run on them. And no matter what defense teams play, Carolina always ran under Coach Williams. And so I always felt like we were in shape and we were used to it. But the teams that pressed, I don't think that they were really used to teams running back at them. So I felt like in the second half, that's where a lot of teams got tired and made some lackadaisical mistakes, and that's where we capitalize on it.
Yeah, we're going to get to a break. Nobody knows the ACC better than these two. So when we get back, we will ask them to handicap that tournament that's already kicked off. Who's going to get it done in Greensboro this week? We will find out on the other side. You're listening to Field of 68 After Dark here on Sirius XM Channel 84 and YouTube. Back after this.
Okay.
I also remember one time Tyler got switched off on me,
Uh-oh.
and I saw it was Tyler. I shot
Uh-oh.
that sumbitch from half court.
Did you make it?
No, didn't make it.
You
But I
just
saw it was
shot
Tyler. I was like, I'm shooting this because I'm telling my boys at home.
That's awesome.
Didn't make it. I might pull that shot up on Synergy and send it to you guys.
Hey, Tyler, would you be a stretch man today?
No, I hate the fucking stretch. Why do these kids that play are so good around the rim? Why do they just want to stretch them? Like, why don't they just capitalize on what they're good at and just build off of that? They have these stretch guys. They have people shooting threes that can't even make a free throw. I don't fucking get it. And they're like, oh, analytics.
Yeah.
There's no analytics out there that says, hey, if you're a shitty shooter, go jack up threes and jack up more of them. It's going to help the team.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a different game, man. But not you. You're good. You're meat potatoes. You ain't changing shit. I love it. I love it.
All right, fellas, I had a quick question for you. Thoughts on Shaka Smart being named our coach of the year?
I'm with it. Of course. That's who my coach of the year was. I think Shaka's been
10
terrific.
seconds.
I think it was a good pick. I think Matt Painter was more deserved. Well,
There
I
you go.
like Matt Painter. I think they're both very
3,
good picks.
2.
Welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark. Yeah, we're going to get into the ACC tournament preview here. I should have mentioned the Coach of the Year. That's an important award to a lot of people. Field of 68 determined that award goes to Shaka Smart. So real quick, just your thoughts, boys, on was Shaka the right choice? Was there someone else that maybe was more deserving? Terrence, we'll start with you.
First of all, I voted Shaka just because of where they were picked and where they've ended up. And he's ended up in a perfect situation there at Marquette. But Tyler, I don't know if you know this or not. Shaka was on that Clemson staff in 2008. Whenever we made it to the ACC championship game, he was there. I was there with our massive shorts. Shout out to West Durham, who just texted us. We had our massive shorts in 2008. I think that's an underrated quality of the early mid 2000s. But I think Shaka, the way he's done it, and he's in a perfect situation where he's held on to some guys. They're playing together. At Marquette, it's nice to win the offseason. At Texas, you have to win the offseason. And now he can get the kind of players that fits what he likes to do best. And that's why I think he's been able to put those guys together a lot quicker than what we thought. And it's, ended up in Marquette being a high seed in the NCAA tournament, winning the Big East when they were picked ninth. To me, where they were picked at and then where they ended up was one of the biggest reasons why I liked Shaka in this spot.
No, I think it's a good pick. Shaka's done a great job this year. Obviously, Marquette, they're heading in the right. Well, winning the Big East is pretty incredible for Marquette, especially this year. I also respect Shaka for leaving Texas and doing this thing at Marquette. That's pretty respectable. But I had Matt Painter. I think he's done a great job at Purdue, especially after losing Jaden Ivey and Trevor Williams last year. I think no one expected what they've done this year. I think that the wheels are starting to rattle a little bit late, but overall, I like what he did, and that's who my vote would have gone to.
Yeah,
and he did it with two freshman guards too, John. Like I think that's a huge thing too. You lose Jaden Ivey, what was he, number 3 pick in the draft, and then you end up with two freshman guards. You have to build everything around Zach Edey, and then guys around him have to figure it out. And even when he struggled at times getting pushed away further from the basket, those freshmen have stood up and done big things, and they're not doing it without coaching. In a league like the Big Ten, where it's pretty heavy in the middle, there's a lot of good teams. I'm not sure there's a lot of great teams in that league, but it's every night. And that league's a grind because it's a bunch of older physical dudes. And, kudos to Matt Painter for being able to figure that out. You can't go wrong. I mean, there's about Jerome Tang. You could throw his name in there.
Yeah, I for sure what he's doing there.
Like, I mean, what he's done. But he had 2 guys return, 2 scholarship guys return. He built this roster from scratch.
Absolutely. So I think, those 2, you can't go wrong. And then, shout out to Jerome Tang. All right, on to the conference tournament previews. The ACC tournament is underway. We can finally put a merciful end to Louisville's season. Good grief, it's finally over. Here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to throw you guys, I'm going to give you a choice. You can make a bold prediction. You can give me a dark horse before we get to your pick. So Tyler, give me a bold prediction or a dark horse, and maybe it's the same answer for the ACC tournament.
Let's see here. A bold prediction. Listen, this isn't going to surprise a lot of people. A bold prediction would be my Tar Heels winning 4 games in 4 days. I looked at the bracket. It's doable. We've beaten every team on that side. To me, the 2 toughest teams in the ACC right now are Miami and Duke. They're on the other side of the bracket. They're going to have to face each other to get to the finals. I think they'll be pretty exhausted when they do get there. So I'm going my Tar Heels. I know we have Virginia. I think if we beat, I don't know who we have tomorrow, but Boston College. I think we can get Boston College. If we can't win tomorrow, we don't deserve to be in the tournament, and we won't be in the tournament. So I think we win tomorrow. We beat Virginia, and then we probably play NC State after they beat Clemson to go to the finals. And I think maybe we just walk on into the tournament from there.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's just, no respect at all for Clemson today from you.
That's fine. This is good. Hey, look, John. We're talking to a guy that hates conference tournaments. But ironically enough,
he is very grumpy about conference tournaments.
His Tar Heels need the conference tournament this year.
Exactly.
They need it bad. And they don't need a couple of those games. They need those. They need all 4.
That's a great point. He's going to love conference tournaments in about 3 days.
Yeah, you guys need all 4.
We'll see.
Like here, that could happen. But I got to find out where this magical button is, because they've hit it. They've hit the magical button. They did it last year. This was a flawed team coming into the NCAA tournament last year. It was still a flawed team, and they found a way. The button's there. We just keep on waiting for it. When's it going to happen? Guys, it's possible. And because the talent's there, Armando Bacot, God bless him, they've had all kinds of problems in the backcourt. Bacot is still produced. He's still rebounded at an incredible level. He's still averaging insane scoring numbers. He's been awesome, even with all this nonsense happening. That being said, I don't think they beat Virginia. Throwing that out there. NC State, they'll beat Virginia Tech tomorrow. They'll play Clemson. Clemson has won those games, one by 25, one by 15. It's going to be hard. There's something about Clemson's defense that throws off Terquavius Smith and Jarkel Joyner. They wall them up, make them shoot over high hands. They don't go for a whole lot of crossovers and all that stuff. That could be a difficult game. And PJ Hall, for some reason, does a good job on DJ Burns. And I love all 3 of those players. I think they're really good. I think Clemson ends up winning. I think the semifinal round is where they'll run into some issues, because I think Virginia, it's just something about that team. They have their number. And Alex Hemingway, guard for Clemson, had an emergency appendectomy. He's an extra shooter against Virginia's pack line. You got to be able to swing, knock down shots. Might be difficult. How interesting can we get, boys? How interesting can we get? Does Georgia Tech beat Pitt tomorrow?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
Josh Pastner
no chance.
has 9 lives, man.
Mm-mm.
Do not underestimate that.
Yeah, there's something to be said there. But that little funky zone might throw Pitt off. I doubt it, because Pitt's just so tough. I think.
Are we not allowed? And again, I defer to you guys. Are we not allowed to mention Duke? Is that like a contractual obligation when Tyler's on the show?
No, Duke's good, man.
I honestly think, obviously I had a front row seat over the weekend. Duke's much better than I thought. and seeing them in person, it seems to be that they're peaking at the right time. Everyone's healthy. I've talked a lot of smack about Shire. I think he's too nice, but he's done a great job, and they're winning games, and they're playing well. And their freshmen have come along really well too. I think Filipowski's an unbelievable player. He's smart. He doesn't play like a freshman. He's got great hands. He can spread it. He can shoot it. He's a matchup problem. We didn't really have an answer for him, but in the Lively kid, I mean, he is a rim protector, athletic big. Proctor's coming on, and I think Roach has the ability to score. Not to put him in Springfield right now, but yeah, I think they're a really good team.
Hey, what I will say is this year, I think John has adjusted really well.
Mm-hmm.
They've had injuries. They've had a lot of different things go on with this team. He's realized that Jeremy Roach is better when he's attacking the rim first and finding people second. So what did he do? He flip-flopped him and Tyrese Proctor, let Proctor take the ball up the floor, and then Roach is attacking on the second side of the offense. So like that has improved his efficiency. It's improved how the team plays together. People are touching the ball offensively. Filipowski's getting it, like the ball's popping a little bit more. It's not a lot. Duke never has really passed the ball a ton, and it's never really been overly complex. But at the same time, like when that ball moves a little bit more, I think when Proctor got the ball, he was willing to give it up in order to get it back, where Roach at the beginning of the season had a hard time figuring that out. Shire switched that up a little bit, put Roach at the 2, Proctor at the 1, and you've seen the benefits on top of them being healthy. And Derek Lively, it's taken him a while, but coming out of high school, like this was a 3-point shooting, rim protecting, lob catching big. I mean, he was DeAndre Jordan with a jump shot, was what a lot of people thought coming into college. And while it's taken him a second to really get some rhythm, boy, they're coming on nice as of late. And in my mind, guys, if they're able to get past that first round, that Miami Duke game is going to be a war. Two very, very good teams, a war.
Yeah, I guess if I was going to give a bold prediction here, and it's bold, this Virginia Tech team that did it a year ago, right? They have, a lot of the same pieces there. It feels like they could be a team that, if it's just that week, maybe they can get back and do it again. Although, again, it's bold because they've underachieved relative to, what they brought back. So I fully acknowledge that. All right, we have a few.
Weren't they a 4-4 team last year, John? They won 4 in 4
I think
days.
so. Yeah, I think yeah. And then I want to say they beat Duke in the championship, right? That sounds right to me.
Yeah, they beat Palo and those guys in the championship.
Yeah.
Hunter Couture went bananas.
So I mean, yeah. So they have the ingredients there. I mean, they're a well coached team. I mean, you asked for bold. I'm giving you bold.
I will say they've beaten Virginia, they've beaten Duke, they've beaten UNC, and they've beaten Pitt this year. So they can definitely win this thing, and they can get it going. I agree with that. I like that.
Yeah, I don't have the Bet Rivers numbers in front of me here, but that would certainly be worth a flyer if I had it in front of me. We do have to fly through a few more here. And it's not easy to do, right? I mean, because you could go an hour on each of these, but we're going to Chicago here, the Big Ten tournament. Give me a dark horse, Terrence, in the Big Ten. It feels like there are 8 of them, but who is one who rises to the top there?
Chicken pot pie, baby. There's a bunch of them that can do it.
Yeah.
Chicken pot pie. I mean, after that first seed, Purdue, I mean, it's just a hodgepodge of teams. I think Wisconsin could win 2 games, being a 12 seed. I think Wisconsin has enough shooting. They play a certain style. They could win a couple of games. They go up against an Iowa team. If they're able to play at their tempo, it could be good. The team I'm looking at, though, this 6:30 p.m. game, Penn State and Illinois is going to be a battle. I think the winner of that game can make it to the semifinals or even the finals, because Penn State plays a unique style. They've got Jalen Pickett, who in my mind was an All-American. I think I had him second team, which I'm good with that. And then Illinois, they have a lot of star power. Matthew Meyer, when he's not drinking Monster energy drinks by the gallon, like he's really good at basketball. But like they have a lot of pieces. Terrence Shannon can hit shots. Dane just kind of that mix it up big whenever you need an extra guy. Illinois has pieces. I like that team. So that's 7-10 moving on to Northwestern. I like those games for those teams.
And then real quick in a minute, Tyler, anybody jump out to you that's not, and again, it's as Terrence said, it could be a lot of people, but anybody jump out to you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have Indiana winning it. But then a dark horse for me would be Michigan State. I think Tom Izzo, I think he's one of the best coaches in the country, does a great job. But also Tyson Walker can get really hot and light it up. And it seems like Michigan State's starting to peak as well. So I could see them coming in here and winning. But a bold prediction is I think Michigan may advance and beat Purdue early on in this tournament.
It certainly is bold. It's been the best league in college basketball this season, the Big 12. Feels like it could go a lot of different ways.
Bold
Is
take.
it as simple?
Oh, I thought you said Big Ten. I was
Yeah, I was about to
No,
say.
no, no,
I
no.
was like,
No, I'm
whoa.
doing it. I'm trying to do a tease, damn it, Terrence. All right. I'm trying to do a tease. You know, this is why the crypto bros hacked your Twitter account here, man. Feels like the Big 12 could go a lot of different ways. Is it as simple as Kansas tournament to lose in Kansas City? We'll get into that right after this. You're listening to Field of 68 After Dark on Sirius XM 84. And of course, YouTube back after this.
And you're clear.
My bad, brother Martin.
Oh, dude, you're all good, bro. I'm just fucking
I
around.
jumped the gun.
No, yeah, it was like one of those. It was awkward, but you know we were gonna make it work. Now watch this. Speaking of make it work, check this shit out. You ready for this?
Yeah.
This is about to be professional.
All right.
All right, here we go. I'm doing a read here. Here we go. I was saying earlier that I like Virginia Tech. I like Virginia Tech to come out of the ACC. I'm going to say a lot of crazy things over the course of March, and you might think I'm wrong. The good thing is, and the best part is, you can prove it to me. This season, we are partnering with Run Your Pool, who's going to be hosting the official Field of 68 bracket contest. Rob's actually worked with Run Your Pool before, which is why he was so fired up to land the sponsor. They've got more than 50 game types for every sport that you can think of, from a traditional bracket pool to survivor games, head-to-head games, pick-X games, and squares. The scoring is customizable. You can tailor your bracket rules to your pool. It is awesome. Here's the best part. Run Your Pool's giving away $1,500 in cash prizes for free. All you have to do is sign up at the link in the description, play.runyourpool.com/field68. That's FIELD 68. Fill out a bracket to be eligible to win. Hope to see you guys on March 12th.
5 seconds.
Professional. Right on time.
Here we go.
5 seconds. Oh, he's good. He's good. Welcome back into the Field of 68 After Dark. We are here on Sirius XM channel 84. We're on YouTube. I am joined tonight by Terrence Oglesby and Tyler Hansbrough. Let's get it. Fire us up in the chat. What's good? Couple more tournaments. This is championship week. And we're going to get to the tickets that were punched tonight a little bit later in the show. But we're going to go to the concrete jungle where dreams are made of, Madison Square Garden. Either of you guys, how often did you guys play in Madison Square as players?
I never did.
Never? Tyler, did you ever get there?
Yeah, I did. Played there a few times, preseason NIT.
Yeah.
In college, we played there. Then obviously in the NBA a few times. But yeah, I really like the Garden. A lot of tradition, a lot of history. But if you've ever played there, you've got to walk up. It seems like a mountain just to get to the locker room. So pretty exhausted by the time you play the game. But no, I like playing the Garden. The fans are great. The place can get rocking. A lot of history. New York City.
I will say this, like the difference between the ACC tournament and the Big East tournament last year, where the ACC was in Brooklyn and the Big East was in MSG, like MSG, all those fans are like right on top of you. And not only that, their seats aren't as far apart as Barclays. So like there's a different feel in MSG. And I think the crowd is a little bit crazier at the Big East than at the ACC tournament.
Let's get into it. Big East. How do we feel about this field? Who do we like to come out of it? We'll start with Terrence.
You know what? I don't think there's anybody on the first day that's going to make a surprise run. Seton Hall might have a good game against Xavier, but I think Xavier is going to end up taking that one. The game I'm really intrigued by is this UConn Providence game. I mean, that 4-5 matchup is going to be an electric factory, and I will be up there for that game. So I'm pretty excited about what's to come there. There's a lot of hatred between those two fan bases. I think they're only a couple hours apart driving wise. Providence with Bryce Hopkins, they haven't played their best ball out as of late, but the pieces are still there. I wonder defensively what has to click for them to be better. They just, over the last two games, they haven't been very good. They need to kind of pick up that edge into the floor. And then with the athletes they have, you know, they can make things happen in transition if they play off their defense. They just haven't done it the past two games. And then UConn has to play bully ball. You know, they're huge across the front line. Andre Jackson's good. Jordan Hawkins is starting to play well. UConn has found that magic a little bit. That was, you know, not floundering is the right word. You know what? Yes, it is. That is the right word. Floundering at the end of January. They're starting to find their rhythm once again. And we've talked about when's your best time to hit a lull. In my mind, middle of January to end of January, if you hit a 5-game lull or something in that part, it expedites your learning curve a little bit, like Tyler said, talking about the early part of the conference tournament. In my mind, for a contender, which coming into the season, we all thought Connecticut was, like, to hit that lull in January, at the end of January, now they're starting to play better. The confidence is back. Shots are starting to fall. Effort plays are being made. They found out what makes them good. Now they've gotten back to that. I think UConn can make it all the way to the championship game and potentially win it.
I hate that I have to agree with you. I really like UConn. I think Jordan Hawkins is playing unbelievable right now. I do like Sunogo. I think he's a unit down low. They did hit a lull, but I think they're coming on. I also like Creighton as well. I had some injuries and they don't have a lot of depth, but I like both of those teams. But yeah, UConn would be my pick to win the Big East. And also, just a quick note, the ACC tournament should never be in New York City. It just fits ever. It was so dumb to put it there. And also the Big East, I mean, that's meant for New York City prime time. So yeah, I like that. But yeah, UConn would be my pick for sure.
Yeah, real quick, like, cause I'm a guy that, like, I want to throw some darts, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're out here trying to, like, make it happen. We're trying to make a little bread in March. I'm with you on Creighton. We know how different their splits are when Kalkbrenner's on the floor. We know how good they are defensively. Their defensive efficiency is the 10th best in college basketball. And look, the reason for that is Kalkbrenner. Between Kaluma and Kalkbrenner and some of the other guys they have, Shireman. Like, I think they got some pieces to not just make a run in the Big East tournament, but the whole thing. Like, they're dangerous if they wind up on that, 5, 6, 7 line. Like, they could be a lower seed that to me makes a real legit run.
Well, Kalkbrenner's so good defensively, it changes everything they do. I mean, you want to talk about a defensive centerpiece. The dude doesn't foul either, which is unbelievable. The guy is able to stay on the floor the entire game. He's one of the, if he's not the highest in college basketball field goal percentage, I don't have that right in front of me, he's in the top 10. I mean, so efficient, kind of a centerpiece. He can roll. He can facilitate offense from the perimeter. He's so good. But you got to have somebody create shots. Tyler, you could do that. You get you on that Carolina break up around the elbow. You do a little shot fake. You ram your shoulder into him, not charge. It was a charge, not charge. But it was, you got to have somebody be able to create shots, right? I think that's the big thing. And I think Arthur Kaluma can do that. Baylor Shireman has kind of figured out how to play with the rest of the guys. Trey Alexander can do that. Elite defender. Absolutely. Like, not deep, very good. Depth matters. I think depth is what got Carolina in the championship game last year, because I think they really got tired. They got hurt, but I think some of those injuries were the result of being tired. That's kind of what scares me with Creighton when it comes to an NCAA tournament run. When it comes to the Big East tournament, I mean, very, very good. There's the top 5 teams in that league. Top 4 teams in that league could all win it. I think Providence is kind of iffy. I think they can win a game, but the other top 4, I mean, every one of them can win it.
I like Creighton, by the way. They were picked, I think, preseason top 5. They went through some injuries. I didn't really have it around. They're well coached. So I like Creighton. The depth is an issue, like T.O. said.
All right, on to the Big 12, which has been the best league in college basketball this season in Kansas City. Boys, is it as simple as this is Kansas's tournament to lose there in Kansas City? Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think Kansas wins the Big 12 tournament. I know it lines up, and I would love to see a Mizzou. Well, Mizzou, that's not possible, SEC. But what I'm saying is I think TCU has a good chance to win it. Mike Miles has been hurt. I like him. They're a top 25 defensive team. I think they can lock people down. But I think TCU, if not for injuries, would have a much higher seed. So I would have them advancing. That would be my bold prediction. I also like Texas. I think Texas has done an unbelievable job. They have athletes. They can play with anybody. They're a contender to me as well. So heading into this, I would say Texas or TCU. I just don't see Kansas winning in this tough conference. I don't see them winning the regular season and going on to win the conference tournament as well.
You know what's crazy about this league is like every time you look at a team's path, you're like, oh man, that's a tough one. Even the first 4 games on March, was it tomorrow? Like West Virginia, Texas Tech, tough game. Oklahoma State, they don't like each other. Tough game for both teams. Like, and then you have to turn around, either play Kansas or Texas. Whew, tough. But that being said, like sometimes if you're playing a game the day before, like you have your rhythm where the other team doesn't necessarily. So is it an advantage? Probably not, but early in the game, it might be. So you kind of generate some momentum, generate some confidence, yada, yada, yada. You know, it's crazy. I like Kansas State's really good. I think TCU could get them. I really like Mike Miles, man. I agree with you, Tyler. Like he's one of the fastest guys with the ball in his hand since Ty Lawson. And like, I don't say that with any sort of hesitation. I think he's really good. Baylor could win it, but then again, they're going up against Iowa State's defense. Yeah. But like, here's the thing with Otzelberger's defense, like Adam Flagler can make tough contested 2s and tough contested 3s. Like Keontae George is an absolute dude in isolation situations. You got to have that in order to beat Iowa State. Baylor could beat them and then win this entire tournament. If I go tough, but I would be honest with you guys, I would go with Kansas. I think Kansas could win this whole thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Kansas State, man. I love what, you know, the Noah Guard and Keontae Johnson, when those two are going, they are damn difficult to stop. But I mean, Kansas, I like Kansas to repeat as a national champion too. So not a lot. It's like the Big Ten. Like there's very little that could happen where I come away and I'm like, I'm shocked. I cannot believe this. Like it's just one of those leagues where there's so many quality teams. Unlike our next conference, the SEC.
It's not really a hot take league, the Big 12. Like unless you were to pick Texas Tech to win, you know.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, you know, it could happen. Anything really could go down in that league. Somebody does have to win the SEC in Nashville. How do we feel about if we're handicapping this field? Who do we like to come out of it, Terrence?
You know, as you look at it, I think one team that's surprised a lot of people, including myself, what Dennis Gates has done at Mizzou has been awesome. To me, though, guys, like the style of play compounded with how Charles Bediako's been at Alabama, they're just such a tough out. That all being said, you know, the team, if you want to go hot take central, you could throw Auburn in there because they have those crazy guards. I've said it for 2 years. KD Johnson runs on nightmare fuel. Like he's a guy that has the type of mentality. Wendell Green's the guy who has the type of mentality that can go nuts over the course of 4 days or 3 days or what have you, and go and win the SEC tournament. It's not outside the realm of possibility. Those guys can score. And when they're confident and knocking down shots in a bit of a broken game, sometimes if they're able to make it that way, I think Auburn could do it. That being said, Texas A&M is the real deal. Buzz Williams always has his guys playing hard. Wade Taylor is as good as advertised. And whenever you look at that roster, it's just filled to the brim with tough dudes that board. They remind me of a poor man's Houston a little bit, kind of the same kind of guys. Like they're going to do the little things. They're going to jump to the helpline. They're going to sprint to spots. Like they do all of those things because they take on the personality of their coach. Mm-hmm. And even going back to when Buzz was at Virginia Tech, my first year after I finished playing, they were losing by 30 points. They're still sprinting to the helpline. You don't find that in college, but it doesn't happen. Buzz makes that happen. Those guys are tough. We haven't talked about them a lot. Texas A&M is really, really good. They could win the
Tyler,
SEC.
Tyler, 30 seconds or less. We got to get to break.
Man, I screwed you, Tyler.
Yeah, you didn't
No,
leave you much time
I'm
to
gonna
pick
make this
Kentucky.
simple. Bama's winning. Hey, Kentucky's rolling. I hate it, but they're playing well. Bama, Miller, Bediaka. He's one of my favorite bigs. Cleans everything up. I'm going Bama.
All right, there you have it. Look, one season ago, North Carolina was an 8 seed with very minimal expectations before they went on their national title game run. And now, a year later, some are calling them the most disappointing team in the history of college basketball. Can they recapture that magic from a year ago this week? We'll talk about it when we get back. You're listening to Field of 68 After Dark right here on SiriusXM and YouTube.
You're clear.
Is it the most disappointing team in history if they don't?
That's what fucking Doster said. I mean, I don't, that's what he said.
No, I'm
I
asking.
mean, number one to not making the tournament, I feel like that's probably not happened very much, especially when you don't have like a
never happened in the
catastrophic
modern
injury
era.
to point to, right?
Yeah, it's
So
never
it's
happened in the modern era.
It's a good case. I got to tell you, it's a good case.
You can make a good argument out of that. I get it.
I got to do this. I got to do this read real quick, fellas.
Do it. Do it.
You guys ever get tired of trying to prove that you won an argument, that your takes weren't hot, that they were right? Well, we've got an answer to your problems. Vaulted is a new sports prediction app that turns your opinions into facts. You can store all your predictions and hot takes in your own vault now and forever. Challenge your friends, keep track of the results, and prove you are, in fact, the smartest. Vaulted will also be releasing more than 50 pools in the next 3 months. So download the app at the link below, sign up for your 3-month trial, and store your predictions now and forever. That's one for Doster. I don't know, though. I was trying to think like other disappointing. I mean, Kentucky season, I know they're going to make the tournament. It's pretty disappointing. It's not quite there with Carolina, but I just think Kentucky is mid. Mid. Mid.
5 seconds. There you go.
Kentucky's coming home.
Welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark. We are here live on SiriusXM Channel 84, College Sports Radio. We're on YouTube. If you haven't yet, like, subscribe, Field of 68 on YouTube. It is the most comprehensive college basketball network in the entire universe. All right, look, we're going to do superlatives, right? Like when Tyler Hansbrough was in high school, most likely to be an NBA player. When Terrence was in high school, most likely to get hacked by a cryptocurrency brokerage or whatever's going on. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you, of these teams, and maybe there's another one, who's got the most to gain in championship week? Is it North Carolina? Is it Michigan? Is there someone else? Who's got the most to gain this week? We'll start with you, Tyler.
It's got to be North Carolina. Preseason number 1. A lot of people say they've got to win the whole thing to get into the tournament. I don't know if I agree or not, but I would say North Carolina, and I would say it would definitely help. We would pick up some quad ones, but also when you look at their resume, they have no blowouts. If you take a look at all their losses outside of Indiana, they have no blowouts. They have no losses in quad 3 or quad 4. And they also took Bama into 4 overtimes. Probably should have beat them. They're arguably the hottest and best team in the country. So, yeah, they are far off from the eye test, but on paper, I mean, they've lost a lot of close ones and haven't matched up to a lot of expectations. But if they get hot and they win the ACC tournament, I don't know if it gets them rolling for the NCAA tournament, but it definitely gets them in, and it would be, it's a huge step in the right direction.
How many games do you think they need to win, Tyler, in order for them to get in?
I think they beat Virginia, and I think they get into the finals. I think they would start feeling more confident, for sure.
I think they need to get to the final. They probably need to win.
I think
They
they got to
probably
win
need to win the
4.
whole thing. Just because of the way the analytics are. And I think
Right.
this is the thing too. Like if you do eye test stuff, like to me, you've said it before this year, like I think Clemson has a lot to prove. Like they got to beat, this NC State team. They have to beat them. Like there's no not. They win that one. I feel like they're in because of how they were in the quad 1 and the quad 2. The problem is you run into all these things early in the season. They lose to South Carolina. They have minutes restrictions on their best players. It's hard. The thing that I have to explain to people, especially in my neck of the woods here in South Carolina, context isn't important. Win and losses are important to this selection committee. That's the thing that stinks about this whole thing, right? Like, Tyler, you're absolutely right. Like North Carolina hasn't gotten blown out, but nobody's looking at the point differential. Like that's the part that, at least how it's been explained to me, because like as a Clemson alum and a guy who worked for Brad Brownell, like I cheer for the guy a little bit, right? Like I want them to make the tournament because I think it's important for him. I think it's important for the team. Like people aren't taking into account that PJ Hall was on a minutes restriction when they played at South Carolina. People aren't taking into account that like, hey, Louisville's finally, they stink, but like Louisville's finally like kind of figured themselves out a little bit. It's a big night, yada, yada, yada. Context just doesn't matter. And it's impossible for context to matter given the fact that there's 300 something odd teams. Like that's kind of the hard part. If you're able to have 10 basketball guys in a room picking, that would be easier. However, you don't have that. You have a bunch of suits who may or may not have played college ball and they're picking. And because of that, you have to roll with the analytics, and that's the hard part.
Well, here's my pushback is I do agree with you on Clemson. And, it does say something to me if you lose to Loyola Chicago by 20 on a neutral court. Yeah. And in the net rankings, you guys would be, I think, 61. Pitt is 57. I think if you guys lose the first game and you bubble, whatever you want to say, some people may consider those two teams bubble teams. If you lose the first game in that tournament, it does leave a little bit of question. And if you win that first game, I think it makes you more confident with your resume to get into the tournament. Do I think Clemson, and I think for sure Pitt's an NCAA team. I haven't seen Clemson enough, but early on when they were leading the ACC, they were for sure a tournament team. That's the whole thing about these analytics and metrics. But yeah, that's my whole thing is that they've got to win at least one game, Pitt and Clemson, to really feel confident.
Yeah. And we have a little bit of time because I want to get to the other side of this, but Tyler, in terms of, and I know you've been asked about this and you're going to be asked about it. The season's not over yet, but to this point, like, how does it go from a team that looks unstoppable, right? When March hits last season, loses a tight one to Kansas, preseason #1, everybody's back. How does it go from being that to looking as dysfunctional as it has at times? Like what's happening, in the inner workings there?
Well, it's a whole different mentality when you're the top dog and everyone's gunning for you. It's a different mentality than being the underdog and trying to go at somebody. And to me, getting to the top and staying there and backing it up is twice as hard. And how you handle success and what you do to prepare, to me, is very important. We haven't handled success well. And I think the team plays better when their back's up against a wall and everyone's kind of given up. And so, to me, that's kind of the viewpoint mentally, how it happens. But also when you look at it, we did return 4 or 5 starters, but also you can't neglect the impact Brady Manick had on his team. He brought an outside threat. He was a great leader. He was very competitive. And, a lot of people don't talk about this, but spirit on a team is a huge deal. If you have somebody out there that's working hard and fighting and making winning plays, that's contagious. And that's just going to help the team. And I think once they get that going and guys start celebrating, it looks like they enjoy basketball and it just catches on to the whole team. I think that's where you see the shift.
Can I ask, like, to me, like Baycott makes a lot of winning plays with like tough offensive boards, finishes. Like he goes in there, he walls up, he blocks shots. He does so many like winning things. To me, Leaky Black does winning things. Like defensively. He's an extra pass guy. He sees the skips. He does a lot of nice things. Like, why hasn't it been contagious with those two guards? It just hasn't. Like, I feel like, Pete Nance isn't going to stick his foot in somebody's hind parts because I think he's a really nice kid. Like I think like Brady Manick had a little bit more nasty to him,
Mhm.
but like I think like some of those guys do make winning plays. It's just those guards have just held them back.
So there's somebody that comes off the bench. I love Puff Johnson. Puff Johnson gets in there. He does the right thing. He runs the court. He makes hard plays. He guards people. To me, those are the type of plays that get you playing time. If you're a bench player and you want to play, do what the coach wants. Don't try to come in. There's been too much emphasis, and this is all college basketball, to score. And kids rely, you can see, mentally on scoring the basketball. It has too much impact on the game, whether a kid misses a shot or scores or doesn't get the call that they want. To me, there's so much more to the game. And I think if kids actually stop putting so much emphasis on scoring, and if they don't score, just kind of letting that affect the other parts of the game, I think you got to let the game come to you. And I think you do that by making winning plays, going out there, getting rebounds, just doing those things. And then the scoring will come when you get your confidence. And also shot quality has to be better.
Yeah. So you think like if he would have focused on the other things, majored in the minors, if you will, like he would have been better off this year?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you take higher percentage shots, you get some layups, then those other tough shots come natural. You mean you have your confidence up once you see the ball go in, you're sharing the ball, and things just look better when guys are making shots and also sharing it.
All right, we've got a quick minute here, so 30 seconds from each of you. Which team in college basketball can least afford this week to shit the bed? Maybe it's Houston. Maybe they're out with a loss in the American, right? Maybe they don't make the field, as bad as that damn conference is. Who can least afford to have a bad week this week?
Like every team on the bubble. Like that's what it comes down to, really. I think the teams that you want to have a good showing, you don't necessarily I think Tyler's point where you don't necessarily need to be great in the conference tournament to have a run in the NCAA tournament. I think there's a lot of validity to that. However, I think some of those teams in that 2, 3, 4, you're trying to generate some momentum. Maybe a team like, Providence, like you've lost 2 in a row. Can you gather some momentum back heading into the Big East and the NCAA tournament? I think that would be huge.
For me, it'd be Purdue. I think if Purdue loses, people are going to start questioning. Right now, they're a questionable 1 seed, but I think if they lose, it drops them down for sure to the 2 because the wheels are starting to rattle late. So that they would be the most impactful, but also UConn. I think if UConn comes on and wins the Big East tournament, I think you're talking about potential, higher seed.
Yeah. Either way, it should be a hell of a week here. Championship week in college basketball. That is Terrence Oglesby. That is Tyler Hansbrough. I'm John Martin. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to the Field of 68 After Dark right here on SiriusXM Channel 84 and on YouTube. We're going to be hitting the afters. We'll be answering YouTube questions there as well. So make sure whatever you got, you want to ask some more questions, we'll be around to answer those. That's going to do it for us. You guys know the drill. Same time tomorrow. Field of 68 After Dark. We out. Appreciate it, boys.
Clear.
Good
Are we
work.
clear? We're good to go?
You are clear.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Hey, we didn't get any chat questions, baby. We didn't get any chat. We need the afters. We need the afters.
Yeah, we're here. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm ready for some chat questions. Brady wants to know, how hard is it to beat a team 3 times? Obviously, we're approaching that territory. Some teams playing. A good example, producer Trevor is Illini, obviously playing Penn State. They got swept by Penn State early in the year. So how hard is it to beat a team 3 times in the season?
Conference team for sure. I think if you scout somebody, their plays. I think it's harder in conference. Well, it's the only team you would play 3 times, huh? Yeah, it's tough.
It can go one of 2 ways. You can either beat the hell out of the team the first 2 times, and then it's like they're beaten down, or if they keep it close, like it could go the other way in a hurry. I think that's the hard part, and especially when they're pretty similar in talent. I think that's the big difference.
All right, next question. Willie Dean in the chat wants to know, do you guys think Matt Painter deserved to be the Big Ten Coach of the Year over Chris Collins?
Man, what Collins has done has been really cool. Now, the cool thing about Chris Collins is, like, if he has a good year every 5th season, lifetime contract. I'm a big fan. No, but he has 2 good guards for Northwestern second. Like, he deserved it this season. I'm wondering how the follow-up's going to be. I think that's going to be huge, but Painter's done a great job. I don't think there's any doubt about it. That I can understand both. However, Northwestern as a 2 seed's pretty significant in my mind.
I agree. I think Collins done a great job. I think Painter should have got it though. I think Purdue winning. I'm thinking I just reward somebody winning the whole conference. That's my pick.
All right, next one. A team I know neither of you are going to want to talk about, but someone wants to know, if Duke wins the ACC tournament, how high of a seed can they get? They're currently a 7 seed and fielding the 68 as of today.
Hey, first things first, like my Duke hatred is not all that deep.
Why is everyone?
My North Carolina hatred is not all that deep. Like South Carolina, like I just got to hear about them. But other than that, like the hatred isn't really deep. The only school I didn't have a winning record against was UNC. And that's largely because that guy, a couple spots to my right, like my hatred really isn't that deep for either team. Am I jealous of them? Sure. But I think Duke, they could get up to a 5 seed, that 5-12 game might be tough. I think they're in prime position to make a run, man. They just trending in the right direction for so long, and they're talented. They're talented. Talent wins a lot of games.
Yeah, Duke loves the ACC tournament always. They always do well. Yeah, 4 or 5. I could see them getting a 4. NCAA selection committee loves them too. So,
John, feel free to jump in here too. You're allowed to answer the questions as well. I don't want you to just think we got to sit up.
I will. I'm deferring for sure.
Fair enough. Willie Dean again wants to know, what's the second best conference in the country? I think we all would agree Big 12 is number 1, and probably pretty far away.
That's a hard one, man. What do you think, John?
I mean, I Big 10.
Really?
Yeah, maybe Big East. I mean, I think those two are sort of interchangeable. And I guess I sort of handicap it, but like, how many teams do I legitimately think could win the championship, right? Like, that's how I grade quality.
So you think the Big 10 has the second best odds to win the national championship?
Well, I don't know. I'm just thinking about, like, again, could Indiana go on a run?
Yeah.
Right. Could Purdue finally, like, exercise those demons? There are a few there that, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm really high on UConn. I'm really high on Creighton. I guess I probably have to retract and go Big East then. I'll go Big East.
You think Big East second best conference in the country?
I'll go Big East.
I think I would go the SEC.
Oh, fuck no.
No?
No, the SEC sucks.
No, I disagree. I think
who's the second best team in the SEC? I'll wait. Vanderbilt?
Huh?
Who's the second best team in the SEC?
I don't know. I just think the top end talent in the SEC is there.
It should be better.
I think it is.
It should be better than what it is,
playing better.
honestly.
Kentucky's playing better. Alabama's really good. Arkansas is dangerous. Texas A&M is dangerous, but nobody's talking about them.
It might be A&M as second best in the SEC, honestly.
Yeah, they're tough.
Like, in terms of, like, their form, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I trust them over Auburn, for example.
Right.
Arkansas is, like, they're very inconsistent. I know that when they have Nick Smith in the lineup, they're totally different. But I loved Arkansas before Brazil went out. Loved them. Thought they'd win the SEC. That was a huge blow for them.
It was. We trust. I think he can figure it out.
I'm gonna go Big East though. I'm around my Big East boys. Tyler, you got any opinion on that?
Big East. I'm gonna back that up. I just think UConn's so strong. It's not like I don't like the Big East either. I want to disclose that. But I'm just being honest. I like UConn. I think they're coming on too.
Speaking of the Big East, Does Villanova have the best chance to steal a bid out of the power conferences?
It's possible. They're playing better as of late. I mean, Justin Morris kind of found his groove a little bit. They just it's amazing what one wing piece can do for you. Like what he's been able to do, he just settles them down. It's like whenever he catches the ball, everybody takes a deep breath. The rest of the team just relax. They have cutters off the ball. He can take his little Barkley dribble and post in there, fan out. Like he has calmed down that team by himself, just being 80%, 90% of what he was. Like Villanova could do it. They certainly could. Where's the let me pull that up again.
It's possible, not likely.
Right.
Well, they have a gimme in game 1 tomorrow. And then
I hope they lose
against Georgetown.
I hope they lose just because you said that. Yeah.
Georgetown money line. Georgetown money line. It's got to be like plus
money line.
5,000.
Yeah, I would say Villanova, they could beat that. You know what? Here's the thing too. When Villanova plays Creighton, Eric Dixon's been hitting threes.
Yeah.
Like he can pull Kalkbrenner out a little bit.
Oh, for sure. They're scary, man. They're scary now. They got my guy back. You know.
They could win 4-4.
They could.
Keep in mind too, like they could win 4-4.
Yeah. I mean, they have again, they're tough, but it ain't Jay Wright anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's what, when I think about Villanova now, like my instinct is to always believe, even as slow as they started due to injury, whatever it was, like, okay, they'd still figured, but it ain't Jay Wright anymore, bro.
Yeah.
It's not. So we'll see. We'll see after this crop of players that Kyle inherited what it's going to look like. But my default with Villanova is it's not Jay anymore, John. It's not.
I agree with that. I think that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good opinion. I like that.
All right, next one. How many Big Ten teams are alive after the first weekend?
Not many.
Don't know the draws.
Huh?
I mean, we don't know who they're gonna play. So how can we possibly know?
Recent history.
Well, I'm saying though, like, what if we don't? What if
it'll be one? Just one is my guess.
just one.
Just one.
It'll be Purdue or Indiana.
I like that.
Sheesh, man.
I
Tough
think
crowd.
I think
It
it's
could
possible.
be. Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
Illinois is dangerous. They can play with anybody, but they've been peaks and valleys all year. I mean, they've gotten blown out, and then they've looked like the '96 Bulls at other, in other games. It's true. I don't know, maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know.
I think it's possible they have. I want to say 4 just because I want to go full John Fanta. But I think it's possible they got 3 teams in the Sweet 16 second weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa is a team, right? You're not buying Iowa?
I like their players. We've interviewed them. I think their players are great. I just
never again after this.
Yeah.
No, I like Iowa. I do. Yeah,
bro, they got one of the best players in the country, and they're so well coached. Like now this is what they do. They get to the NCAA tournament and they totally unplug, right? But I don't know. I watch it. Like I watched them the whole game against Indiana at Indiana, and I'm like, if you can do that shit, you can go on a run.
Yeah,
I mean, they dicked them down. They
can score. They can score.
Yeah.
But what happens when the lid's on in the NCAA tournament? You got to find ways to get easy buckets.
That's fair.
And you got to get stops. You got to get stops.
I mean, look, these guys are complete haters. I think the Big Ten is going to show a lot better than these two.
How many teams do you think make the second weekend then?
I think Indiana's built for a second weekend. I think Purdue is built for a second weekend. Illinois is tough. They could go. Iowa could go. I think it could be 4 to 5.
I said 4.
Okay, well, Tyler said 1.
Let me just say here, it could be 2. It's not gonna. The only real teams I'm sold on: Purdue, Then you have Indiana and Illinois. If Illinois somehow figures it out and they want to share the ball and play good quality basketball and enjoy it, I think they can go deep, real deep. But that's not going to happen because they haven't done that all year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dig.
I'm here.
Should we mention? Should we?
Go ahead,
I was
John.
gonna say, should we mention, who actually like got in tonight?
Yeah, I was about to say, that's where I was going
We do
next. I was getting towards that. We can talk about that if you'd like. I'll let you take
Yeah,
it.
we got Oral Bob. They punched their ticket. Max Asmus, Connor Vanover.
7 foot, was he 7'5"?
Yeah, former. Did he? I think
He's at
he
Arkansas.
definitely committed to Tubby. I don't know if he ever got to campus because Tubby got fired before
He committed to
ever showed
Tubby,
up.
went to Arkansas. No, he went somewhere else and then went to Arkansas, and then ended
Yeah,
up
he went
at
to a
Oral
small
Roberts.
school, I want to say.
Yeah.
But Oral Roberts punched their ticket. Upstart program, Gonzaga. Man, you just love to see it, right? Nothing
Man,
good
they
has
beat
happened for that program.
They beat the brakes off of St. Mary's 2 days
They
after I
did.
said St. Mary's has something to prove.
They sure did, man. 77-51 was the final there. Northern Kentucky is going to the NCAA tournament. They got the dub today as well. It was a weird deal with Mary Mack and Fairleigh Dickinson, even though Mary Mack won. I want to say, and Dagan, maybe you can correct, they're not eligible because they're still transitioning. Is that
Yes.
what's going on there?
Yeah, so
That's
Merrimack.
the dumbest rule.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. That's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah, so
If
technically,
you
Fairleigh
win the league,
Dickinson.
you should go.
Fairleigh Dickinson was the first team to punch their ticket on Saturday with their win in the semis.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Connor Vanover started at Cal, went to Arkansas. Now he's at Oral Roberts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a journey.
I was curious about that one.
That's a journey right there, man. Max Asmus still there. I remember that run, 2 years ago?
Was that the COVID year
Yes.
where he went berserk? Yeah.
They beat like Arkansas or Ohio State. I think I think they lost to Arkansas, but kept it really close, beat Ohio State. So, it's the same guy, they've done it before. We'll see. I would not, that would be like the shittiest day ever when you get slotted with Oral Roberts. Whether it's 215, 314, like that's the worst. You're not gonna like that. Whoever ends up getting that draw, it's gonna be a pretty shitty draw.
What's crazy is like how long Max Asmus has been really good.
I know.
Like 14 and a half his freshman year, 24 and a half the next year, 22.8 his junior year, 22 this year. And like his assist numbers have been consistent. He gets 4.5 boards a game. He's listed at 6 foot. He might be 5'10". Like
dude's a monster, man.
He's really
a
good.
monster.
And he just continues to just be really good.
All right, that brings me to my final question. Are there any names that you guys that you have that you should let people know? Big or under the radar names for people that can go off in March, have a big March, kind of take their team to like a Steph Curry type run, something like that.
Does it have to be like a Davidson level player? Is that what you're saying?
No, it can be somebody from a bigger school, but under the radar, not like
okay.
Drew Timme or somebody like that.
Aiden Mahaney's good. St. Mary's, they get a good matchup. He's a lot of fun to watch. Jalen Slauson at Furman is really good. I'm trying to think of who else. The hodgepodge of dudes that is Charleston's a fun team to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll play 10 deep. They're running fast. Their tempo's high. They have Ryan Larson, who's a 5th year, who transferred over from Wofford, who's like there's just a typical Midwestern point guard. But like he pushes the pace for them. They've got 3 Division II transfers and an NAI transfer on that roster, and all of them play. Like they've got a lot of interesting pieces on that team. There's a lot of good teams in college basketball this year. That's the fun part. I think there's a team, if you want to keep an eye out, who comes out of the A10. I think that league obviously struggled in the non-conference. St. Louis is good. In my mind, guys, I did a Dayton George Mason game the other day. Dayton looks the part of an NCAA tournament team in layup lines. They didn't win that game, but like if they match up well size wise, they play a certain style. Deron Holmes is a dude. 6'10", 6'11", 240 pounds or whatever he is. Like they've got pieces too. It's just the tournament this year, guys. And I think I think the extra year of eligibility just changed things. There's just more good players. There's not more great players.
Yeah.
Like how many?
I think it's changed it for the worst, if I'm being honest.
Huh?
I'm probably in the minority here. I think it's changed it for the worse.
See, I disagree. I think it's changed it for the better because I think there's more good teams. There's just no great teams because I think it's been there's more really good players. Like there's not a whole lot of great players this year. Zach Edey qualifies as a great player. Trace Jackson Davis, like how many Tyler Hansbroughs are? And I'm not just kissing his ass because he's here, but
there's like super Tyler Hansbroughs now.
Who right now? I think Drew Timmy qualifies.
Yeah,
Zach Edey qualifies. Trace Jackson Davis qualifies. Outside of that, like who are the truly great? Like there's usually like a Zion Williamson, like a guy who's really the face of college basketball. I think Zach Edey slid into that. I think Timmy playing at Gonzaga takes away from that because it's too small. Like Trace Jackson Davis isn't this big boisterous personality. Like I think that's the one detraction you could say, but I think that the talent base is bigger, and I think it's made it better by and large.
Yeah, and so Jalen Wilson is up there with the E and Trace Jackson Davis too. But I think this is as wide open of a tournament as we've seen in a long time because of that. And I listened to Goodman's podcast and he was talking about coaching. And I agree with that. I think coaching experience and how well these teams are coached are going to have a big impact on these teams in this tournament. And, you can't be sold on one team going into this tournament for sure. There's no dominant team out there that we can pick and say, oh, hey, they're going to be in the Final Four. So that's really what I'm looking forward to in this tournament.
I just like, and again, I may totally be in the minority. I just hate when you look up and every fucking person at the free throw line has been in college for 6 years. Like and I know like not everybody has, but like it just feels like everybody in college basketball now is 25 years old.
Because transferred 4 times.
Exactly.
That's the hang up. Like that was going to be another point of mine. Like, I consider Tyler like top 5 all time. Like as far as what number top 5 Tyler, I don't know because I'm not going to do that right now. But like one of the reasons is like, dude, your freshman year, 18.9. Everybody knew who Tyler Hansbrough was. Your sophomore year, 18.4. Everybody knew who Tyler, like, we knew who the hell Tyler Hansbrough was all 4 years. And we knew you were going to be there all 4 years because like, dude, you were the GOAT at the time. I mean, I'm not arguing against you being the GOAT all time, but like, I just feel like people know who you were and you were so dominant for so long. Like you bring up Jalen Wilson. He hasn't been dominant for so long. Mm-hmm. Like Drew Timmy has, but then again, he's up in Spokane, Washington. Like they're playing in the West Coast Conference. It's a good league, fine, but like it's not doing it at North Carolina like that. And I feel like those guys, Caleb Love, those guys, they had an opportunity to be that guy, and they just, in my opinion, guys, they floundered it a little bit. But like, there's just not that face that's been there for a long time. Even Zach Edey was splitting reps last year with Trevion Williams.
Yeah, and here's my other thing is about the transfer portal is the one aspect that I don't like about it is when kids aren't getting the playing time or not seeing the results that they want, they blame it on the school, and then they take that same mentality to a different school expecting different results. At some point, you've got to look in the mirror and say, hey, what can I do to change to get on the court? What do I need to improve? That's what I don't like about the portal. And also to just quit on the season and just put your name in the portal and go somewhere else. I've never really been a big fan of that. But I will agree with you. I do like the older players in college basketball just because I think it makes it more competitive. I see the young kid for Duke, even though he's not killing it or lighting it up, he comes in and makes great defensive plays. He knows the game. He puts himself in scoring position. And I like to see that type of basketball. And I think that's one aspect that, this portal or this extra year has brought to the game.
Dagan, is that it for the questions?
That is it. I'm gonna let you guys do your toasts, and then we can get on out of here.
Yeah. Terrence, you want us to kick it off?
I can kick it off if that's what you prefer, John Mark.
You go ahead, kick it off, man. You're the Bitcoin bomber, bro.
Bitcoin bomber, please believe. I'm going to toast one of the teams that was on the inaugural Field 68 game podcast, Furman Paladins. Got it done. Congratulations to them. I think they've won 24, 25 games over the last 3-4 seasons. Finally got over that hump. They're going to the NCAA tournament. Good for them. They're dangerous. Jalen Slauson, Mike Bothwell, JP Pegues, who was most outstanding player at the SoCon tournament. Really good player. Nashville kid. Long story short, they're good. Congratulations, Bob Ritchie and company. Cheers to you. Are you drinking Mountain Dew at midnight?
Diet Mountain Dew, my man. Very important. Very important distinction. Tyler, you ain't got no Diet Mountain Dew in your cup, man. What you got over there?
I can't remember last time I had a Mountain Dew. Just water tonight. Let me see here.
He's a machine, man. This guy's still a machine.
Let me see here. I think I'm going to go with the ACC being back in Greensboro. I'm going to, whoever got that done, the ACC, whoever worked that out, the part of the reason is because Boeheim's talked so much shit about hating it. And I'm very curious to see if this is going to be his last game he ever coaches and what reporter has the balls to ask him that in the press conference after the game. So that's my toast. It's kind of a rant, but I'm toasting to putting that thing back in Greensboro, and let's keep it there.
To a venue, I like it. And then, man, I'm gonna give a toast to a team that I feel like is getting totally done wrong and that should still be playing, but is not. If you win a conference championship in a conference tournament, which is exactly what Merrimack did tonight against Fairleigh Dickinson, you should have a chance to play again. You should have a chance to play in the real thing in the NCAA tournament. So we got to change that rule, man. And we got to change that. And I know this is no substitute for playing in the field of 68, but I'm going to toast it up to Merrimack. The Merrimack Warriors. Put some respect on the Merrimack Warriors.
They got our respect.
They're champs, man. Those dudes should be playing. Look, fellas, this was a lot of fun. Appreciate you hopping on. Appreciate the chat for as always checking in and asking the great questions. That's gonna do it for us. For Terrence, for Tyler, I'm John.